Tonight, we step into radiant gratitude and the healing light of the sun, a sacred invitation to awaken your inner child through the joyous power of play. Before the maiden's message unfolds, we'll breathe deep, anchor gratitude in our hearts, and open a portal to fresh, playful energy. Are you ready to reclaim the wild, wondrous part of yourself that's been waiting to dance again? Join me as we find magic through breath, tarot, and the timeless wisdom of the maiden archetype. My name is Kayla, and this is Maiden Mother Crone Tarot, where we hold sacred space for divine divergence, also known as ADHD. Today is day 16 of the 0303 series, where I'm showing up for 30 days to bring messages of love, support, and radical acceptance for women with ADHD. Now, Mondays are for the maiden, so today we will only be working with the maiden archetype. But before we begin, I'd like to go ahead and do some breathing. If you're familiar with my lives, you'll already know that this is coming. But I do this one to ground myself into the presence of now, into this energy, to calm my nervous system, because going live can be quite intimidating. But also for you to do the same thing, to shake off any parts of today, to release any energy belong to you, and to really open up to receive messages. So normally I do like a simple breathing exercise, but before I was starting the live stream, I was working with the cards, shuffling them, and just kind of feeling out the energy. And I had some cards pop out. Well, one of the oracle cards that popped out was talking about gratitude. And then the sun came out. And in the oracle card, it was talking about sitting in gratitude like the sun, the warmth of the sun. And then the sun card popped out when I was doing my pre-shuffle, and I was like, okay, there's something to this. It's got to be mentioned in the reading. So I thought we would incorporate this into our breath work for tonight. So we're going to breathe in for 6, hold for 2, and breathe out for 8. But what I want you to do tonight is when you're breathing in, I want you to pick one thing. There's lots of things in our lives that we can choose to be grateful for. But tonight I want you to choose one thing. And I really want you to dive into all the ways that it affects your life, to unfold the multiple layers of how this is blessing you in your life, so that you can really soak in the full warmth of gratitude, really anchor your heart into that. So while we're breathing in for 6, we're going to be breathing in what we're thankful for. I know what I'm going to be. It just came to me what I'm going to be thankful for tonight. So I'm going to focus on that during my breath, and I invite you to pick one thing. Now, when we're breathing out, we're going to breathe out any fear of losing the thing that we're grateful for, any fear of lack that could happen if it were to be gone, any type of negative emotion that could be associated with this one thing that we're grateful for. And we're just going to choose to focus on that it's here now. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe you're going to be grateful for something that happened in the past, a past relationship. Sorry, we have kittens. That's what all the noise is. But really ground into that warmth energy. When you're breathing, focus on your chest area. Feel it expanding. Feel it warming with that gratitude, right? So we will do 3 rounds tonight of breathing in for 6, holding for 2, and breathing out for 8. We're going to breathe in gratitude, breathe out lack, and breathe out fear. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. Thank you for doing that with me. How do you feel now? How would you describe the feeling in your heart? Is it warm? Is it fuzzy? Is it vibrating? Has it expanded around your whole body? Are you wrapped in a blanket of love now? If not, I encourage you to continue doing this. Keep doing this practice until you can get to that point. All right. Look at this child. So happy, so free, riding the horse, living their best life, living their fullest expression of who they are. So today's tarot topic for tonight is the power of play, unleashing the inner child. We are going to be channeling the maiden. So tonight, I thought we would pull a few oracle cards. The first oracle deck is the Spirit Animal Oracle, and this isn't dedicated to one archetype. I use it in my readings for all of them, but it's saying to me tonight and wanted to be used, so we're going to use it. The power of play. Ooh, hello. Cat spirit, claim your independence. And I find it very interesting that this card comes out when I was just talking about our kittens and they were distracting me the entire time. I was trying so hard not to get distracted, but they were being very loud for a second there. So, this is number 13. Claim your independence. The next oracle card deck we are going to use is the Wild Offering Oracle. This deck is actually dedicated to the maiden. So in my practice, I like to dedicate specific tarot deck and oracle decks to the spiritual archetypes that I work with. I find that this strengthens my connection with these archetypes, that it preserves the message, and that it really helps encapsulate their energies. It's almost like if you think of a picture frame, how you want to have a great frame to put the art in, right? So by using decks that I feel like resonate with these spiritual archetype energies, I feel like it really helps their messages come through. Maiden, can you please give us guidance tonight on the power of play? How can we as ADHD women unleash our inner child? How can we step into this independence, embodying the cat spirit? What guidance for us tonight, Maiden, please? Oh my goodness, y'all. Gratitude. What did we just do? And this is the exact card that came out earlier. And I did shuffle again multiple times before I began this reading. I love when spirit comes through like that. We'll do one more card just because, you know, these cats are wild. Okay. So I guess I should read this card now. There it is. Sorry, I was looking for my crystal. Gratitude. Find just one thing that you feel grateful for. Let that gratitude pour through your body. It's a healing balm, like the warmth of the sun. This is the card I got before the message, and this is where the inspiration for this sun intro came from. So it came out again. It is gratitude, y'all. The next card, direction. Lord, please show me the right action right now. Please bring a sign and a miracle that gives clear direction. May I hear the prompting of my own body. Oh, I got cold chills on that. And if for some reason I am about to head the wrong way, please stop me. So if you haven't been watching the series, I highly recommend you do. I'll try to link it there. But throughout, I have really been talking about bringing awareness to our bodies, how the emotions and feelings, the actual physical sensations in our body are messengers trying to tell us something. So the fact that that came out, it said, may I hear the promptings of my own body. It really ties into what we've been discussing so far in this series. All right, now we're going to pull some tarot cards to continue this message. Maiden, can you please give us guidance on the power of play? Unleashing the inner child for the ADHD collective. How can we reclaim the power of play to where we don't need permission, where we have direction, where we're independent and full of gratitude, where we're listening to our bodies, Maiden? The power of play. All right, we got the Ace of Swords, the King of Pentacles, the Chariot. Oh, you guys. I didn't talk about this, but the Judgment card actually came out at the beginning as well. And this I actually pulled out. So when the Sun card came out, I went through and pulled all the other cards in the tarot that have children or young images, and the Judgment card and the Death card were the other two cards. And I considered putting this in the intro, but because of all of the covering I have to do on it, I decided not to. But apparently, since it's at the bottom of the deck, Spirit wanted to mention it. And so when I was working with it earlier, before I started the live, the message that was coming through for me on that specific card, the Judgment card, was that your soul is calling forth this play to appease your inner child, right? Right here in the center, this little inner child. Judgment is about your soul calling. It's about awakening to what our body is telling us, right? We need to tap into this play, tap into this gratitude so that we can have emotional freedom. We don't need permission to feel joy. We don't need permission to feel over the top, to be playful, to be loving, to be enjoying ourselves, doing the things that bring us, like, our passions bring us joy. Then the last three cards we got were the Five of Cups, the Devil, and the Hierophant. Tonight, what the Maiden is trying to tell us, we did our gratitude work in the beginning, and it talked about the sun. And when I was doing my pre-shuffle work, I also got the idea of when you're a kid and you're outside and it's a hot summer day and you're just playing, whether it's in the woods, whether it's at the pool with your friends, whether it's just in your yard. I kept getting the image of a child playing and getting hurt. And when they get hurt, they have these big tears that whelp up and come down their faces. They're crying and they're crying, and it's big and it's over the top, and no one judges them for that, right? We're like, oh, it's okay. And they just comfort them and try to make them feel better. And there is no sense of shame. There is no sense of wrongness to the child when they're hurt and they respond that way. So that's just a programming that we get the older we are, that we're not allowed to respond to certain situations. We're not allowed to have certain emotions. But in the Sun card, this is freedom, emotional freedom, freedom to express ourselves, to express the emotions that we have, to really ride with this horse here, ride these emotional waves, and understand that they are fleeting, they are moments, right? They could be a sign. Maybe you've asked for a sign and your emotions are actually the way the divine is trying to speak to you right now. And maybe the miracle is you haven't felt joy a long time. You haven't been able to crack a joke or smile or play with your kids or play with your grandkids. You haven't been able to laugh with your friends. And could this be a sign of something that you're blaming yourself for? Did something happen and now you blame yourself and you're judging yourself and you're not allowing yourself to tap into the things that used to give you joy because you feel like you don't deserve joy anymore because of something that's happened? If so, then the maiden is saying here with this Ace of Swords, this is a gift, right? All of the aces are gifts, they're opportunities. This judgment on the bottom of the deck, this calling for your inner child to awaken, for you to step into this joy, this play, this sacred expression, the passion. When you can do that, it's an opportunity to cut anything else, any other judgments, inner critics that you have that are saying, no, you don't deserve to play. Maybe you have a lot of responsibility and you think, I don't have time to go play. I have too many other things to do. If that's the case, why would we have this Five of Cups? Right? The fact that you have too many other things to do, the fact that you have so much heaviness on you, you have so much grief, so much regret, is pointing to the fact that you do need to have this inner child. A lot of times, whenever we're thinking about who we are as a person, our core personality, identities, ego identities, whatever you want to call it, a lot of times people will say, go back to your childhood. What lit you up when you were a child? What were you passionate about? What could you talk about for hours? And to me, that really embodies this King of Pentacles energy, the second card we got from the Maiden. You're grounding down into the root, the corest part of who you were, the purest form of you before any of that conditioning could take effect, before any of that negative self talk could take effect, before the fear of rejection could come in, before your inner critic could tell you that you weren't worthy of play, that you had to earn it, and that you haven't done enough to get it. We really have to ground into who we are, ground into the purpose of play, and question where can it take us with the Chariot. Look, we have two cards that talk about direction. This direction card and the Chariot. The Chariot is also will. It's masculine energy. And maybe right now you're too caught up in this masculine energy. You need to take part in this prayer that says, and if for some reason I'm about to head the wrong way, please stop me. Maybe this is your miracle. Maybe this is your sign. This reading is telling you you need to stop this behavior of thinking you have too many responsibilities. And maybe those responsibilities have you a bit resentful right now with this gratitude card coming out. Maybe you feel like you're the only one that does anything, that you're the one that takes care of everything. And that could be the case. That could be completely true. I'm not invalidating your feelings or your experiences. But we always have a choice in the way that we think about things. We can choose to believe that no one else supports us, no one else wants to help us, we're the only ones that can get anything done. Or we can tap into this gratitude and be grateful for the people that we have in our lives and understand Here's the kicker. You guys ready for this? I don't know if you are. Understand that the people in our lives are not mind readers. Ooh. Do you know how hard that was for me to learn? Women with ADHD are highly intuitive, highly emotionally intelligent, highly empathetic. We can anticipate the need of something or someone way before they even ask for it. It's a superpower. It really is. But with that comes the thinking, or for me personally, maybe this isn't your experience, but personally, I had the thought patterns of, I can tell a million miles away what needs to be done. I'm sitting here struggling. Why do I have to ask you for help? Well, because people don't read minds. Because sometimes people don't want to step on your toes because you have acted like you have it all together. You've acted like this King of Pentacles, that you're grounded, that you got it all together, right? So why would they interfere? Why would they barge in? And maybe you also, if you're like me, have a tendency to want things done a certain way. Perfectionist, right? RSD, perfectionism comes from that a lot of times because we're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of failure. And so to prevent that, we have to do it just right. Well, if you have that tendency, a lot of people don't want to work with you, don't want to do things because you're just going to redo it anyway. So we really have to reel that in, step back away from that, and tap into the power of the inner child, the power of play, the freedom that comes with that. When you don't have all those limiting beliefs, when you're not afraid of everybody rejecting you, when you just go out and play because it's what your creativity, what your imagination is calling for in that moment. With the devil card here, this speaks of patterns that we are repeating, karmic patterns. It speaks of behavioral patterns, right? So we're talking about this resentment, this regret, this feeling like you do it all, and how maybe you've been doing it all. You've been in your masculine energy, but it's not been in alignment with your soul. It's not been in alignment with what's best, the highest good for all. It's an action you're taking out of obligation rather than passion, pursuit, joyful play. So the maiden is inviting us. We have to really reevaluate. We have to step back, untangle some of those emotions, right? Some of those emotions like resentment, like fear of rejection, or perfectionist tendencies. We have to look and see and say, am I doing this because I want to? Am I doing this because it brings me joy? Or am I doing this because I'm afraid that if I don't, someone is going to say that I'm not good enough? Am I doing this because if I don't, I'm afraid someone's going to judge me? With the Hierophant coming out, this is the teacher, the spiritual teacher, the keeper of the ancient wisdom. But it also represents tradition, and it can represent contracts. So do you have a soul contract with someone? Is there someone in your life that you're really struggling with right now? And maybe if there is, you need to step back and see, why am I struggling so much? Is this a devil pattern? Do I have a relationship with this person that has me in this devil cyclical cycle? Ultimately, with the judgment card at the bottom of the deck, the maiden is telling us it's time for us to answer the call of our soul. This little kid down here. Step into our playful energy. Step into the freedom, the liberation of soulful expression, of playing not for purpose, of play not for profit, of play not for propaganda. I'm being given the image of Instagram and how a lot of people post a perfect life on Instagram, but really they're miserable. They just take a few pictures and then they're done. That's not really how their life looks at all. How can we tap into gratitude? How can we tap into the energy of the sun, the warmth, the optimism, the hope? And the sun is going to show, right? When the sun comes up, you can see there's clarity, right? With this Ace of Swords, there's clarity, divine clarity on where you need to go, on the correct direction. And maybe this karmic cycle is a cycle where you're going to have to challenge your current spiritual beliefs or the beliefs you've inherited from your family. Sorry. Yep. You're going to have to challenge the beliefs you've inherited from your family and step into your independence. This cat spirit, step into your independence. You know, you're going to have to really step into the full acceptance of your ADHD. Step into the fact that you don't need to fix it. That is not something wrong with you. That is actually a gift. It gives you so many advantages over other people. You can work on things for an hour if you're passionate about it, if you love it, if it really lights you up and sparks your joy. You can sense the change in energy like that way before anybody else. You have a sixth sense about the things that are going to go wrong. You know when to do something before it's needed. All of these things are good things. They're not things that keep us bound, right? And even the challenges that we deal with ADHD, we have a hard time focusing. Maybe that's because you haven't been outside enough and hear the promptings of my own body in this directions card. Play is not something that's earned. It's just like worthiness is not something that's earned. It's a divine right as this being that you are, as this eternal soul. You know, we're here in this earthly plane. It's heavier, it's denser. And the joy, it can be taken easily. But your soul is telling you that it's time to listen to the call of your inner child. It's time to stop being resentful. It's time to stop thinking that you have to do things for reasons other than something that lights you up. And I understand, you know, we all have bills to pay, right? We all have family to support. It's not as easy as, okay, say this, but I get that. Okay, I totally get that. But I'm really going to challenge you here because I know there are ways for you to step into your passion, to fulfill your heart's desire, even where you're at. Even if it's just planting a seed, taking the first step to what actually does bring you joy, right? We can do this. I'm not saying it's going to be fixed immediately. This child is on a horse. This is going to be a journey. It's going to take time. We're going to go through multiple seasons, right? Multiple rising and falling of the sun. We're going to have our moon seasons where we're not sure. We don't have clear direction. We don't have this Ace of Swords, this clarity. But right now, we do have that energy. It's here. It's being offered. So when it's here, we need to take it. We need to take it and ground into who we are so that we can have the life that we were meant to live, where we're not afraid, where we're safe. We're safe to express ourselves, safe to play. We're safe to experience things and trial new things, right? We can break these patterns of regret when we don't show up for ourselves, when we say yes to something when we meant to say no. Maybe the next time someone asks you if you want to do something and you don't know how to answer, take a few seconds and listen to your body. Feel into your body. Decide, is this the right direction for me? Let your body be your guide. Let it answer you, right? And then whatever the answer is, take this chariot card and go in that direction with clarity. Make sure that you are chasing your joy. How can we do this in our lives, right? What is a practical way to do this? I like to play with my kids. That's one way to tap into joy. And for a long time, that's not something I did like to do. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I was so overwhelmed with being a mom. I was so overwhelmed with work, bringing all of it home. I was so overwhelmed with life, undiagnosed. I didn't know what was going on. It wasn't even on my radar. So I carried the heaviness of it. I understand what you're going through. But once I started playing with my kids, once I started tapping into that play, it changed everything. It strengthened my connection with my kids. It strengthened my connection with my husband, with my friends, with my family. I could laugh again. And you can too. If you don't have kids, maybe you need to play with your pets, right? Get a toy and play with them. Maybe you could do some funny caricature sketches of them. Even if you're not an artist, I bet something very interesting will come out. And then we always have the opportunity to tap into our inner child with our friends. Do you like to sing? Why don't you go sing at a karaoke place? Maybe you should write your own song. And even if it's just a silly song, right? Just because play is associated with the inner child doesn't mean that it has to be unpurposeful or ridiculous, right? One way that I play is with plants. I love being in the garden. I love my house plants. I love being able to, sometimes I'll name them, but just observe them. Some kids are super observant. They just love to watch and learn. They're curious. So maybe that's how you can tap into your inner child. Do you love to read? Do you love to do art? Do you love to sing or play an instrument? Let me know in the comments. What is your inner child activity? And how are you going to commit to doing more of it? Bringing your inner child forward in more day-to-day life. Remember, we're going to continue to breathe in gratitude throughout this week. We don't need permission to play. We don't need permission to be. This is our chance. We have an ace. We have direction. We have clarity. We have a judgment call. We have this angel blowing the trumpet. This is the divine time for you to step into your inner child energy, to learn that you're allowed to play, that you're allowed to rest. You don't have to be carrying the weight all the time. Carrying the weight doesn't determine how worthy you are. You're worthy just because you are. I think that about does it tonight. Sending love and light to anyone that is open to receive. Thank you, Maiden, so much for this message. Please help us tap into our inner child, tap into our play, to learn that we can use play in all aspects of our lives. It's not something that we have to do in our own free time. We can bring it to work and change the energy in everything that we do. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. Again, this was day 16. If you haven't had a chance to watch the other previous days, I'll link them up there for you. But I'd like to remind you, in this channel, come as you are and stay as you become. Bye, my friends.